I just got back from watching Black Widow and I have a lot of things to say about it. I don't think it's a good movie. It's about a 3 or a 4 out of 10. And basically, I'm going to rant to you guys about why I think it's not a good movie. First of all, this is going to be a biased review because I am not the biggest MCU enjoyer. Honestly, I thought Avengers Endgame and the one before that and the one before that, I thought they were all really, really boring. I don't remember a single MCU movie that I actually enjoy. Second of all, I am not a huge fan of action movies. I find them to be very boring. They are devoid of plot. And the only reason why you watch them is because you want to see someone beat up another person without there being any really serious repercussions, because we all have that monkey attack fight brain inside of us. And third of all, the reason why I watched this movie is because my brother really wanted to watch it, and my brother is younger than me, and my parents were busy, so I had to go accompany him in the theater to make sure nothing bad happens to him. And basically, that's all you need to know before I start ranting. Anyway, this will be a full movie spoiler. I will be discussing everything that happens in the movie. So if you're not comfortable with that, please click off the video right now. Alright, I'm gonna fucking say it, okay? I think the intro sequence is really fucking boring. So when the movie started off with Natasha and Yelena as kids, I was like, why am I watching this right now? What does this have anything to do with the story? I thought the acting of the children were really boring. I didn't like the action sequences. I didn't think it was very plausible because keep in mind, all of them are human except for Alexei, who is apparently a superhuman. So him attaching himself on the plane throughout the whole flight, I can believe that. But when Melina got shot and she survived the whole plane ride, I really couldn't believe that. I was like, why? I knew she was gonna live. She's not dead, but like, it's still very unrealistic. It brought me out of the whole movie. Like, suspension of disbelief, completely broken. After the intro sequence, we cut to either Natasha doing some stuff in exile, or we cut to Yelena doing some widow stuff. I don't know, they're all really boring. Anyway, the plot moves on. Yelena gets the vials and realizes she needs to do something or whatever, and then Natasha gets attacked by Taskmaster, which is okay, I guess, and then Natasha and Yelena go meet up, and then they break Alexei out of jail. And then Alexei says, you didn't have to break me out of jail. Actually, I don't know anything. You should go talk to Melina. And then Alexei just brings them to Melina. And they chill for a bit. And then they go to the main bad guy's office. And then they blow it up. And then the movie ends. That's essentially the plot of the entire movie. I just found the whole movie really boring. I honestly can't tell you why. Maybe it's because the pacing is so slow and weird at times. Or maybe it's because not a lot of seemingly important things are actually happening on screen. This movie is 2 hours and 13 minutes long, and I feel like not a lot happens to justify the movie's runtime. The only scene I enjoyed was Alexei's introduction scene in the prison, because within 5 minutes, we understand the character of Alexei completely. We know that he is arrogant, we know that he has super strength as shown in the early intro sequence, and also the fact that he can arm wrestle everyone without any effort. He is seemingly not affected by pain as he is getting a tattoo when he is arm wrestling people. So we know a lot of things about him, and we also know that he's a man trapped in the past where he's reminiscing about his supposedly glory days, even though those days never did exist. Within those 5 minutes, we get all of that, and I really enjoyed it because without saying a lot of stuff, we as the audience knows what's going on, kind of, and I think that was really cool. Everything else I did not like, honestly. So where should we begin? I guess we should begin with the dialogue. I thought the dialogue was really bad. I thought it was really stiff. The character interactions weren't really good, I guess. So when Yelena talks to Natasha about why she reached out to her and how she was being treated throughout the whole Widow program, I feel like that was really unnecessary, and also the dialogue felt really, really unnatural. Like, they just bring up topics out of nowhere that has nothing to do with the current conversation they're having, and it happens like 3 times within the same conversation, so it's kind of weird. A lot of the things that Yelena says to Natasha already knows because Natasha was in the Widow program, so Yelena didn't really need to explain a lot of the things she went through. Although it makes sense that she did because obviously she doesn't know if Natasha knows exactly what she went through. I thought when Yelena explained the whole chemical brainwashing thing, I thought it was really stiff. Also, yeah, the dialogue is just bad. Like, no one would ever speak like this. It doesn't sound like they're real people talking to each other. It really does sound like movie script dialogue exposition bullshit. It didn't help that the acting was bad. I thought the line delivery was really, really bad. I really thought they could do like a couple more takes. I thought the voices and the way the characters said their lines were strange. I really didn't know who the director or the voice director was. I don't know what they were thinking, but it really doesn't work. I didn't think any of the actors were good. None of them were good. I really thought they could do better. It just felt like they were forced to do this movie, you know? It felt like the writers didn't really give a shit. The actors didn't really give a shit. It was really obvious that a lot of it was CG, so I don't know, maybe none of them really, really cared. For now, I'm gonna talk about the plot. The plot is okay enough, I guess. It's a basic premise where Black Widow thought that she had eradicated the organization that trained her and trained other orphan children. Turns out that the organization wasn't destroyed. The boss is still alive, even though Natasha thought she killed the boss, and now they have to go save everyone or something, I guess. Even though the plot is pretty basic, it doesn't mean that the movie will be bad. I just thought the execution was really poor because they didn't really explain a lot of things. Natasha basically said, I'm pretty sure they're dead because I made sure that he was there because his daughter went into his office and was happy, so I told Hawkeye to go shoot a bomb in the office, which resulted in a giant explosion that no normal human being should be able to survive. But the boss and the daughter managed to survive, and they never explain how. It doesn't really make a lot of sense, especially because you know that both of them were in the room, and you also know that no normal human would be able to survive that explosion. Also, it's weird that Natasha didn't check for bodies, even though she is a very, very capable spy or agent or whatever. You would think that she would at least make sure to check that they were actually dead, but no, she just fucks off and leaves. It's really weird. And also, all of the widows have chemically induced brainwashing to the point where they must obey a command and they can never disobey it because the chemicals or whatever. And the way they solve it is that in the beginning of the movie, Yelena gets a bunch of vials filled with antidotes, and if you use the antidote, you can undo the brainwashing. And they don't explain how they make the vials. They just say like, yeah, one of the old widows who was like 40 years old, they made a cure and then somehow I have it now. So they don't explain how the widow made the cure. They don't really explain how it works. You just see it that they inhale the antidote and then they just stop being evil, I guess. In the beginning of the movie, we show that Natasha and Yelena were supposedly part of this happy family, and then it turns out that it was a whole undercover operation to do something in America. Because of that, the relationships between all these characters are really tense, and I thought that was a really, really good idea, but again, the execution is really poor. Alexei is just this conceited man, and you don't really feel like he gives a shit about Yelena or Natasha. You just feel like his words are empty and cheap. But then in the middle of the movie, for no reason at all, he just like comes around and tries to be a nice guy, and he tries to apologize to Natasha so many times, but every single time he apologizes, he's not actually talking to Natasha. He's actually talking to a different character who he thinks is Natasha. So at the end, he never really does apologize to either Natasha or Yelena, which, I mean, if there's one thing this character needed to do, this character just needed to say sorry and to apologize and to do all that stuff, and he never actually does it, which is really strange. In the whole grand scheme of things, they didn't really need Alexei. So the whole sequence of seeing him in prison and then doing a prison break and having all of that banter is essentially not useful to the plot at all. Alexei doesn't serve a single purpose in the story. He just like says shit and tries to be funny, which I'll get to that later, but he's not funny, he's boring, he takes up a lot of time. You could have just cut that character out, and really it wouldn't have affected anything. The only thing he did was tell the girls that Melina is alive and Melina is in St. Petersburg, and that's literally all he does. You could have gotten a different character to do the exact same shit, and then they could have fucked off in like 2 minutes or something. I thought Yelena was a really good concept for a character where everything in her life that she thought was amazing, it turned out to be a lie, and she should have this like internal conflict of not knowing what to do because she has been chemically brainwashed, but now she's free. She has the freedom to do anything she wants and all that jazz. It sounds like a really good concept, but again, the acting is so stiff, it's so bad, it's really unnatural. The line deliveries, again, they are very, very poor, and the only scene that I liked with Yelena in it was when they all reunite back in St. Petersburg and Melina says, yeah, I'm the one who studied all this chemical brainwashing stuff. A lot of the new agents, they're brainwashed now. And she doesn't know that Yelena is brainwashed. And while she's explaining this, you see in the background, Yelena like freezes up. It looks like she's gonna start tearing up. And eventually she gets mad and she storms out. And I really like that sequence. But then they had to, of course, write dialogue about how Yelena feels about the whole situation, and the dialogue is absolutely terrible. Oh my god, I know I keep saying it, but it is so bad. I feel like one of the biggest things they fucked up was Taskmaster. Taskmaster, which I found out prior to watching the movie, is this huge badass who literally, if they survive an encounter with you, they will continue to get stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger to the point where they are one of the most threatening villains in the entire MCU, I believe, because of their power to just keep growing and growing. It is actually insane. And then the way they beat them, they did... Oh my god. Taskmaster wasn't used properly. I'm just gonna say it right there, okay? Taskmaster sucked ass in the movie. Even though they have replicated Captain America, Hawkeye, and Iron Man's techniques and how they fight and stuff, they don't really do a whole lot. They explode Natasha's car, but Natasha survives and then she runs away. And then back when Natasha and Yelena was in Budapest and they were being chased down by a lot of widows, Taskmaster also chases them. But again, Taskmaster doesn't really do anything. Again, Taskmaster just blows up the car and then Natasha and Yelena escape. So again, doesn't really do anything there. And then during the final fight, you actually think that Taskmaster is going to have a serious fight against Alexei. And Alexei's going to need a lot of help to beat Taskmaster. But no, you can trap Taskmaster in a fucking prison cell. And of course she can't break out of it because Alexei can't break out of it. So she's just stuck in the fucking prison cell and she doesn't do anything for the rest of the movie. It's, oh my god. When I saw that the way they defeated Taskmaster was just trapping her in a prison cell, I had lost all hope in the MCU. They cannot make good movies. They will never make good movies. They can never make movies that matter, that I will actually care about. The only people who like MCUs are people that I personally don't like either. If you like the MCU, what is wrong with you? They make really bad movies. They're not enjoyable. They're very boring. Alright, anyway, before I wrap up my ramblings, I'm going to talk about the random supply guy. So there's a guy who supplies Natasha or Black Widow with a bunch of stuff. They just show up in the beginning of the movie, they show up in the middle of the movie, and they show up at the end of the movie. And we don't know anything about him. We assume that he is a person whose job is to do shit like this. But we don't know his personality. I don't think we get a name. Maybe we do get a name, but I don't remember it. He's just British and he's very, I don't know, he just talks to Natasha a lot, I guess, but that's kind of it. And to end things off, we have guy in theater who keeps laughing. So remember when I said in earlier parts of this video where I was going to talk about the comedy, they try to do a lot of comedic things with Alexei, but I think that they're not really funny and they just fall flat. But not this guy. This random guy in the theater kept laughing at every single joke they made, every single comedic moment they tried to create in the movie. This guy just laughs his ass off, and he laughs really, really loud. And honestly, I was considering walking out of the cinema just because of that guy, but I couldn't because I had my brother there. If my brother wasn't there, I would have walked out the second the movie started. Honestly, that was just a waste of 2 hours. I just wasted 2 hours of my life watching Black Widow. That's the video. Do not watch Black Widow.